We did our project on the Georgia Museum of Agriculture Nature Trail map and sign creation. We worked on it together, myself, Grace Hartley, and Chloe Garrison, and our stakeholder was Tristan Hansford.
So for the project overview, originally we were expected to remove invasive species as well as apply an herbicide to the camphor tree and Japanese climbing fern that have completely taken over the area, as well as planting native species in about a quarter of an acre. This was changed by our stakeholder, Tristan Hansford, because we didn't have enough time to actually go through all that. 10 hours just was not enough. Instead, he suggested that we make educational signs as well as interpretive signs at the head of the trail and along the trail as well for the guests to educate themselves.
Purpose, goals, and objectives. For this project, we decided on three main objectives to accomplish. Objective number one was to create a trailhead sign for the nature trail. There is currently a sign there at the trailhead, but it's very small, it's old, it's faded, and it's hard to see. So we thought that a larger, more colorful trailhead sign would be useful to the public that are utilizing this trail. Our second objective was to create a map of the nature trail. And there are not any maps that we know of that exist of this trail. So we went out with a GPS unit and took the points and created a map. And we added this map onto the trailhead sign so they know where they're going to end up at the end of the trail. They could also get a printout version of this map if they would like. The third objective was to create invasive and native species educational signs. So originally, what we thought we were going to do for this project was to remove invasive species, but since we couldn't do that anymore, we decided to instead create signs to educate the public on these species.
In order for us to begin our project, we had to meet our stakeholder first, Tristan Hansford. We met him at the head of the nature trail, which is right behind the GMA country store. He discussed with us of what he expected from this project and what would make the GMA directors happy. After we got done talking, we decided to walk along the trail trying to figure out where did it start, where did it end, where are the boundary lines, and it was very hard to tell what was what because of how overgrown it was with the camphor trees. We even went to the back of the mechanic shop, which obviously is not part of the trail. We did see that it led across the train tracks, which is a little bit dangerous, and we would definitely make a sign of being aware of the train when it's running. There's also a gazebo in the back that was kind of forgotten about, and it was donated by Eagle Scouts. So,
Chloe and I visited the GMA together 2 times. On the second trip that we went out, we recorded GPS points with a GPS unit that we borrowed from Philip Ward, but they did not turn out very well. It was very hard to see exactly where the trails went. There was even a branch of the trail splitting off that led to a maintenance building that we didn't really want anybody to go down. So we ended up having to come back later and take more points, but this will be discussed further in the upcoming slides. On that second trip out, we also explored the surrounding wooded area to see what wildlife was nearby. We looked up in the trees, under logs, really just all around, and we ended up seeing multiple different songbirds, plenty of slimy salamanders that I'm sure the kids on the trail would love to find, and lots of insects. The process of creating the GMA trail map took multiple days. The first step in creating the map was to just walk the trail and find out where the path was. This was a little difficult, like how I said before, there's a maintenance road, but we eventually got that figured out, found out where the trail went. Another strange spot on the trail is where it crosses over the train track and then over the road. So in the future, it might be a good idea to put a sign there. that the trail continues on the other side of the road and it doesn't just end. But after we did that, we went back and we marked the entire trail and all of the features along the trail with GPS points. Like I said, these didn't turn out good. You'll see on the next slide the rough draft of the map. It looked a lot different than the final draft. So I went out again with the GPS unit and made sure to take a lot of GPS points along the trail. Probably a point approximately every 4 paces or so, just to make sure that I would have a very accurate polyline when I uploaded it into ArcGIS, which was the third step in creating the trail. I uploaded all of the GPS points into ArcGIS, and from those points, I created a polyline and I added on labels for all of the different features along the trail so the visitors would know what places they can stop at. As you can see, there are multiple differences between the rough draft and the final draft of the map. One of the most obvious differences is the inclusion of the maintenance road as part of the trail on the rough draft. We later discovered that this was not part of the nature trail at all and decided to exclude it from the final draft map. Another change I made was to the color of the line marking the trail. The bright blue on the final draft stands out much better against the green background than the tan dashed line does. I also changed the points of the features to be brighter and larger and labeled the features on the map instead of using a legend.
For my rough draft sign creation, I had based this off a different kiosk sign that Tristan had included in our email. He mentioned how he really liked the dark coloring of it, the layout. So I did my best to try and format it similarly. It does have the rough draft map in there, and I tried including the animals that I have seen at the GMA because I worked there not too long ago. I also include like warning signs, please keep an eye on your children because a lot of kids go there for the playground. I also mentioned how they need to be mindful of the train running on Saturdays, and we really would not want kids or adults to be injured. Um, we also do not allow pets at the GMA at all. They're not allowed in any area. In the middle of the text, I tried giving a little brief backstory about the trail and kind of how it was a little bit forgotten about and just grown up and is now getting the management that it needs. Okay, this is the final product of the Head Nature Trail sign. As you can see, more things have been included and there have been slight changes. So with the animals in the area, I got it from accredited website and made sure to cite the authors who took them. The map is the complete form of the trail, put it in there, and I also had to change the body text because the tone made it sound like I was verbally attacking the directors about leaving the trail and letting it get grown up, which is not what needs to be said to them. So I changed it to more something subtle. It was a project and it just kind of did get forgotten about a little bit. For educational signs, I added native species and invasive species within the area. And then I included why are invasives bad, gave a brief rundown for that, and included a QR code so that the guests can scan it and see what they can do to stop the spread of more invasives, to gain that more knowledge. I also added the sites of the gazebo and the historic moonshine distillery on there as well so that they know what to look for.
Like I already mentioned, the trail isn't marked very clearly at the moment. This led to the creation of a map that could have potentially gotten visitors lost. New GPS points were recorded and a new map was created to resolve this issue. Another setback that I didn't list here is the fact that we're both full-time students with jobs outside of school. Even though this project only took up 10 hours of our time, it was very difficult to find a good time that we were both free to meet up and work on it. This resulted in us doing most of the project separately or collaborating online instead of working together in person.
Overall, we were successful in meeting the objectives of our project, and the stakeholder was satisfied with what we had created for the map and the signs. He approved the layout, format, colors used in the creation process. There are also smaller changes that will be made by Tristan Hansford and the GMA director, including more inside information on historic exhibits and more invasive species damage and how they can control that.
We have plenty of ideas for how this trail can be improved in the future. The signs and map we created still need to be approved by the director of the GMA before they can be posted, but once they're approved, another team can go out and help put them up. There are many invasive species that still need to be removed from the area as well. Volunteers are slowly making progress on this by attending weed wrangle events. After removing the invasive species, native species will need to be reintroduced to the area. There are a few native species left, like southern magnolia and Carolina laurel cherry, but the nature area is not nearly as diverse as it likely used to be before the invasives were introduced. More educational signs could also be created and added to better educate the public on the history of the trail and the management that would have gone into it to restore the native habitats that we hope to be back at that point. Cleaning up the trail itself will make it much more attractive to visitors. The trail is currently overgrown by invasive plants and is full of holes and fallen logs. One last improvement that can be made will be to add trail markers to trees to make sure visitors don't accidentally take a wrong turn or get lost.
For our acknowledgments, we would like to thank Tristan Hansford for keeping an open line of communication with us and giving suggestions as well as being able to answer our questions for the project. We also want to thank Philip Ford for letting us be able to use the GPS for our project. Hope you enjoy listening to this project.